I'm George Manuel's daughter, and I just want to say that, people like George Manuel, he started his career back in the 50s and continued on fighting his entire life for these kind of causes, and he raised children that fought for these causes. And we fight, I see this sweet little girl down here, we fight for these sweet little children that are going to be here long after us. And that's why we fight. If you get tired, if you get scared, if you get nervous, if you get tired, look in the eyes of a child and feed yourself. Kanahoos is wanting to gather up 1,000 red dresses that she wants to put on the Kinder Morgan line in honor of the murdered and missing women, and to remind all of our people that we have to keep those man camps out, and we've been having troubles gathering those dresses. I'm traveling up there on Friday, so I live down here, and I want to try to gather as many red dresses as possible. If you could email me at honorthewomen@gmail.com and arrange pickup for the dresses. Thank you.
Hookstama white to white up some haha aspaquaks. I'd like to thank the Coast Nation for inviting us into their territory to represent all of the nations that are fighting the pipeline. I'd like to also introduce myself in my English name, my adopted language. I'm George Manuel Jr. I'd like to thank my Cookbee Chief, Judy Manuel, and my sister, Doreen, for their words right now. And I'd like to share a song with you. I've named it the Wake Up Song.
Quiet, Coast Salish territory. I came here down from Secwepemc territory to talk about a very serious issue concerning Kinder Morgan going through our territory. I want you to look at this man's resolution. This comes from our elders in the Shuswap Nation. They've said no. Our elders have said no. 500 kilometers of territory, and they say no. Henry Saul introduced this resolution to our elders committee. He started that process. And now we are only instruments of our elders' policy when we're ready to stand up in our territory. That decision is coming down June 18th. I think I've seen probably a half a different marches. I've heard many court cases, judicial reviews, NEB, Federal Court of Appeal. When does it end? When does it end? Back in January 9th, when Trudeau came to our territory, I asked him for a deed. I asked him for a deed to our territory, and he said he didn't have one. He does not have the right to usurp our jurisdiction in our territory. He said the Canadian government doesn't have a deed to Shuswap territory. How many other territories along this pipeline? All of them. All of them. I think that's radical, that kind of thinking. With this decision coming down next week, we failed to stop this pipeline. Up to January 9th, 2019, we failed. Now what do we do? What do we do in terms of direct action? How long do you want to go to court? How long do you want to listen to the politicians saying that this is going to take some time? Now we enter a new phase of resistance, and it's called cell resistance, where we all do our own thing in our own territories. Cook's Jam.
Thanks so much, could we get Judy Wilson and the entire Manuel family? Can we keep it going for them? That family has put so much work into stopping this pipeline. Now, Indigenous communities have been leading this fight from the start, and there's one individual who's shown up time and time again for them and for us. He's been at every rally, every meeting, every blockade. Grand Chief Stewart Phillip is such a force that Kinder Morgan refused to arrest him at the gates of the tank farm last year. Now, I want to give him the biggest, warmest welcome he's ever received. So we're going to split the crowd up here at these salmon, and everybody to the left, when I point to you, you're going to scream at the top of your lungs, "Grand." Everybody to the right,
another one.
When I give you the signal, you're going to scream, "Chief."
Grand Chief! Grand Chief! Grand Chief! Grand Chief! Grand Chief! Grand Chief! Grand Chief!
All right, everybody, please give a big round of applause to Grand Chief Stewart Phillip.
I'm under tall.
Do you need anything else?
If he's Grand Chief, I'm Ms. Chief. Why? Hasselhal, Slach, Ipis Naxil, Isquist Ancient.
I've been trying to come over, but I didn't want to walk.
That just means welcome friends and relatives. My traditional name is Ancient. And that name comes from North Vancouver, Tsleil-Waututh. So I want to first thank my Coast Salish relatives at Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh for the opportunity to speak to you this afternoon. What a beautiful crowd. I'm honored to be here. Years ago, when this project was first contemplated, our community stood up and said no. And guess what? The answer's still no. It's a very bad idea. And shame on Canada for buying it. And you know what? It's something that all of us are going to be paying for years to come. That debt. And we're going to pay for it in pollution. We'll pay for our children and our grandchildren. We'll be paying for that. I always say what we don't accomplish today, we pass on to our children and our grandchildren. We're not doing that this time. It's going to stop right now. And whether they happen to pass it on June the 18th,
June 18th.
the 12th is my birthday. It's still gonna stop now. I see a lot of people wearing my auntie's teachers t-shirts. Warrior up. Woo! And it's something that we're all responsible for. It's not just a First Nations issue, it's everybody's issue. And as others have said, it's only by standing up together that we're going to stop this. So let's stop this. Okay. All right.
Okay. Why, peace naksil, esquis asiut. I want to begin by acknowledging our dear friends and relatives, the Tsleil-Waututh, Squamish, and Musqueam. And I want to offer a special heartfelt and sincere welcome to everyone that knows and understands how serious this issue is and took the time to be here on this Sunday afternoon. It's very, very inspiring to know we are in the company of such deeply committed people, such principled people as yourselves. So I want to hear for all of you. On behalf of our 15 grandchildren, Joan and I want to express my deepest, most sincere gratitude for all of the hard work you've done over the last decade to attempt to convince an incredibly stupid succession of federal governments about what a absolutely stinker of an idea this Trans Mountain pipeline is. I want to thank all of you that have worked so hard in the rain, in the snow, in the cold. I want to thank those who were arrested, who have went to court. We tried, but I guess we weren't tall enough. I particularly want to thank those that were incarcerated, that went to jail as a result of violating the injunction on Burnaby Mountain. This has been a very long, protracted campaign There's been an ebb and flow to this campaign over the space of time. We've had our victories, we've had our disappointments, but nonetheless, we have stayed true, we have stayed the course, and we're all gathered here today to reconnect, to assure each other, those on your right side, those on your left side, those in front of you and behind you, that we will continue to stand in solidarity, and we will stop this Trans Mountain expansion pipeline. I want to offer a special shout out to all of the incredibly stupid investors and let them know that their money is at serious risk, because this pipeline from the very beginning has not been viable. When this pipeline was first conceived, oil was somewhere around 120 bucks a barrel. Those days are gone forever, and right now oil is continues to be at an all-time low, and that's not going to change. We are witnessing the death rattle of the fossil fuel industry. We all know here that it's time for responsible governments with a vision to turn to renewable energy. And we know that's not the Liberal government of Canada. They have lied to us. We know it's not the Conservative government. Harper has lied to us. So we have to think differently about the federal governments that will lead this country into the future. And it's not the Liberals and it's not the Conservatives. Those are archaic thinking parties, and they still have the frontier gold rush mentality that the way to build an economy is to dig big holes in the ground and to transport toxic materials and to destroy the environment through the rampant industrialization of all of our homelands, and that is no longer acceptable in today's world. It is time for all of us to wake up and stop supporting the 1%, and it's time for us to look around and begin to support the 99% that are represented here today. So I think on June 18th, it's clear, regardless of what the decision is, whether it's to approve or reject or delay, that we need to cast our minds to the final chapter in this struggle. And that may very well be Burnaby Mountain Plus. We may end up in enormous numbers getting arrested. We may have to do things that a decade ago were unthinkable, but in today's world with the climate crisis and everything that represents, and what this economy represents to the poor, to missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, to those that are marginalized, to the fact that we have so many hundreds of thousands of good people living on the streets that are homeless. In regard to all of those issues, it's time for us to take a stand against the 1% and do everything in our power necessary to change this narrative, to change this picture. It's time for us to take our country back. It's time to do whatever it takes to take our country back from the multinational corporations, from the, from the 1%, the hedonistically rich people in this country, and begin to distribute the wealth to those people that are in such great need. I just want to offer an acknowledgement. We got here just to hear Sven, and I agree, we need more Svens like that. With Svens like that, I think we can defeat our enemies. So it's good to see you all again, and I look forward to the days and months ahead. And again, whatever it takes, I agree with our brother Arnie when he was up here and talks about a change in tactics. And we need to know and understand all voices need to be heard, and everyone has a right, an absolute right to carry this fight forward, utilizing the gifts that we have received individually from our creators. We all have different gifts, different approaches, different voices. They all need to be respected, and combined together, we will defeat the enemy. Why? Lim Lim.
Always such a pleasure. Thank you for joining us.